Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating stack of sources you've shared with us.
That's right.
And get ready for some, unexpected connections and maybe some challenging assumptions.
Exactly.
Our goal, to peel back the layers, uncover some hidden truths that are often closer than you might think.
Exactly. Our deep dive today is really all about what lies beneath the obvious surface. We'll be going from, say, the glittering facades of booming cities to the quiet struggles of job seekers, the intricate dance of evolution, and even, believe it or not, the surprising contents of your everyday bag.
Okay.
It's a journey that reveals how truly interconnected our world actually is.
Absolutely. You might just have a few aha moments as we connect these seemingly disparate topics. Okay, let's unpack this together.
Let's do it.
Right, we're going to kick things off by looking at Dubai, a city that, our sources describe as undergoing an incredible transformation in just 4 decades.
Quite incredible, yeah.
It rocketed from like a small trading post to one of the most glamorous, futuristic, and popular tourist destinations on the planet. Our sources actually call it a panegyric to capitalist living, a lavish ode to indulgence and luxury.
It's true. Money in Dubai doesn't just talk. It bellows brazenly, as one source puts it.
Right.
They paint this picture where it really seems nothing is beyond what money can buy. Yet beneath the shimmering surface, there are these uncomfortable realities.
Okay.
Many tourists, particularly Westerners, are described as shockingly ignorant of the injustices that are hidden barely beneath the surface.
Shockingly ignorant.
Wow. And the source even suggests that many actively choose to turn a blind eye.
That's quite a stark contrast, because when you dig a little, you find these stories like taxi drivers living with 7 other occupants on average, often with little, if any, status and protection in their work. Yeah.
And it extends further. We read about foreign building workers who sometimes go months without being paid. Worse still, their passports confiscated by employers, so they're effectively trapped.
Right.
Often leading to ill health. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How much do we truly choose to see compared to what we simply, ignore?
That idea of turning a blind eye, it isn't exclusive to tourists either, based on what we read.
No, not at all.
Our sources also revealed this major scandal involving some of the UK's largest banks.
Right. Where
high-level failures meant these institutions were, effectively turning a blind eye to money laundering.
And the sheer scale of this it's astonishing, really. Literally billions of pounds.
Billions.
Laundered by corrupt regimes and organizations in places like Iran and North Korea. A U.S. report found all the major UK banks are culpable. It's a pretty sobering thought.
It is. And our sources note that proving guilt would be nearly impossible in court.
Right, because how do you prove intent?
Exactly. Proving a deliberate attempt to deceive versus just gross incompetence, it's a huge challenge.
Yep.
The best hope, apparently, is that those in charge are simply forced to step down.
So it begs the question, where does this leave our trust in these powerful institutions?
Right. When the very systems meant to protect us can be leveraged for illicit gain. Maybe not always through malice, but often through, dangerous negligence.
It's deeply concerning.
It seems this idea of turning a blind eye isn't just about grand luxury or illicit finance. It also plays out in maybe more subtle ways we perceive success and career paths.
That's a good transition, actually.
Let's look at what our sources say about graduates in the UK, because here's a truly surprising fact. Job center staff are advising graduates to actually dumb down their CVs.
Yeah, dumb them down to increase their chances of employment.
It seems completely counterintuitive.
Exactly. This represents a significant shift. In the past, the advice was always to embellish your achievements, make yourself look good.
Right, beef it up.
But now, given the dire straits of the economy, as the source puts it, many graduates can only secure these survival jobs. For which they are, quite simply, overqualified.
And our sources highlight an employer's perspective here. There's this wariness of hiring overqualified individuals. The fear is things like entitlement, resentment, and ultimately poor productivity.
Right. They'd rather hire someone less skilled who is grateful. That's a direct quote.
Wow. That's a harsh reality.
It truly is. And the stats back it up. Our sources note that nearly a quarter now remain unemployed for at least a year.
A quarter.
And 1 in 10 is still on benefits 18 months later.
That's tough.
For a generation that was, fed on ideas about the importance of getting a degree as this highway to success, it's described as heartrending to see their hopes crushed.
Yeah.
Our sources even suggest, maybe controversially, that the older generation's mistakes, things like the banking crisis or misguided policies burdening the nation with debt, are partly to blame for the situation.
So given this rather bleak picture for graduates, what solutions, if any, did your sources propose? Are there practical ways forward mentioned?
Well, they certainly offer some potential pathways. One idea is a shift in focus for future education campaigns.
Okay, how's that?
The call is basically to encourage college goers to be very selective about their fields. Focus on areas like IT, maths, the sciences,
STEM fields, exactly.
where there's apparently a dearth of qualified persons. The arts and humanities, while, very nice, our sources suggest, won't take you too far in the current job climate.
Right.
The overarching goal mentioned is to transform the country into a leading center of excellence in STEM.
Interesting. And on another educational front, our sources introduced these new studio schools in the UK.
Ah, yes, the trial schools.
Right. These aim to help pupils who are perhaps ill-suited to a conventional education.
How to do that?
By placing far more emphasis on the practical rather than the theoretical side, they even make work experience a compulsory element.
Okay, hands-on learning.
Yeah, and they run on employment-oriented hours, like 9 to 5 daily. It's a complete reimagining of the learning environment, really.
It is, and it seems to be all about adapting to a changing world. It means acknowledging the current reality and trying out new approaches.
Makes sense.
And speaking of acquiring new skills, our deep dive also touched on second language acquisition. And it turns out the secret to learning languages isn't just, innate talent.
Oh, what is it then?
It's motivation.
That's fascinating. So it's less about having a natural gift and more about just wanting it.
Absolutely. Experts emphasize that if you possess a genuine desire and interest in learning, you will pick up the essentials. You'll get there.
That's encouraging.
And they've even found that the process gets exponentially easier with each new language you tackle.
Wow. Okay. And they've developed a course, right, for instant gratification.
Yeah, it avoids grammar initially, which sounds odd, but
How does that work?
instead you learn the 100 most common lexical terms, so the most frequently used words and phrases.
Got it. The basics.
Then you immerse yourself, go somewhere only that language is spoken.
Total immersion.
The results are apparently quite powerful. Learners perceive themselves as surprisingly competent pretty quickly.
Ah, so it builds confidence.
Exactly. They can interact quite successfully, which gives them the encouragement needed to persevere before the really heavy learning can start.
I see.
This process can lead to a high degree of competence in about the 10th month of study. So for anyone who's ever thought, oh, I'm just not good at languages,
Yeah.
this suggests that perhaps the barrier was never ability, but maybe the approach and just keeping that interest alive.
Really interesting perspective. Okay, now let's pivot a bit. From human systems and personal development to some, invisible yet potent forces shaping our world, often without us even realizing it.
Right, the unseen influences.
Our sources highlight some compelling evidence that new virulent strains of bacteria are now populating the seas of Northern Europe in large numbers.
Yes, and what's truly striking here is the direct link drawn to man-made climate change.
Okay, explain that link.
Well, Vibrios, for those unfamiliar, they're a type of bacteria that can cause some nasty infections, especially from contaminated seafood or open wounds.
Right.
They're typically associated with warm tropical marine environments, but now they're emerging in the icy waters of Scandinavia and the Baltics.
Oh, that far north.
Exactly. The Baltic Sea specifically is warming at 0.08 degrees per year, according to the source. And in that same period, Vibrio cases increased almost 200% annually.
200%. That's a huge jump, a stark indicator of climate change's immediate impact then.
Definitely.
And this isn't just about bacteria in the sea far away. Our sources call it a microcosm of what is happening everywhere.
How so?
For instance, the British Isles may see a rise in the prevalence of mosquitoes, bringing tropical diseases heretofore confined to warmer climes.
Ah, like malaria or dengue fever, things we don't normally worry about there.
Precisely, posing all sorts of new challenges for health officials. It really brings these sort of global changes and once distant dangers much closer to home.
It absolutely does. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it just underscores how interconnected our ecosystems are.
Yeah.
And how human activity has consequences that ripple through even the microbial world. And speaking of unseen threats lurking nearby,
Yes.
our sources reveal that your beloved handbag could be a veritable hotspot of biological activity.
Wait, my handbag? Seriously, the thing I carry every single day.
Exactly. A simple swab analysis of either the outside or the inside bottom can confirm millions of bacteria,
Millions. What good?
including things like fecal bacteria and viruses capable of causing colds and stomach upsets.
Oh, it's lovely.
And it's not just the bag itself. What's inside also poses risks.
Like what?
Repeatedly drinking from the same plastic water bottle, for example. The source says it can lead to dangerous chemicals leaching into the water
Okay.
and transferring into your body, potentially causing hormone imbalances and fertility problems.
Right, I've heard about that with plastic bottles.
And even your mascara, like food, it has a use-by date.
Mascara has a use-by date.
Apparently so. After about 18 months, it can harbor dangerous bacteria that cause infections, most commonly to the eye.
Okay, mental note made. Check mascara dates. It really makes you consider the hidden biology of our daily companions, doesn't it?
It certainly does.
But despite these unseen challenges, human ingenuity continues to push boundaries, sometimes into territory that sounds like science fiction.
Like creating artificial life.
Exactly. Our sources reveal scientists have created a brainless creature.
A brainless creature. Tell me more.
It's described as an artificial jellyfish.
Okay.
And it's capable of swimming thanks to a rat's heart at its core,
Yeah.
which pulsates and stimulates movement,
A rat's heart. Wow, that's inventive.
isn't it? While primitive, it's described in the source as a giant leap for biology, maybe akin to how the moon landing was for space science, a foundational step.
So what's next for it?
The next step, naturally, is to equip it with some type of simple brain to respond to its environment.
Fascinating. It truly tests our understanding of what we even consider life, doesn't it? How those definitions are constantly being expanded by science.
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
And if we consider how dramatically something so fundamental as life can be redefined, what does this tell us about our understanding of human development?
Well, linking to that, our sources delve into the evolution of language, describing it as potentially the most interesting thing to evolve in the last several 100 million years, maybe ever since the evolution of the nervous system.
That's a huge claim. The most interesting thing.
It's a profound statement, yeah. And it raises an important question. Why? Why language?
So why?
It's because language fundamentally changes the rules of evolution itself. It creates a new mode of evolution. Information transfer is suddenly no longer limited to genetic information transfer, just passing on traits through DNA.
Right, it's not just biological inheritance.
Exactly. Instead, language enables unlimited cultural evolution. The ability to transmit complex information on a non-genetic basis to other individuals, and crucially, to future generations.
So we can pass knowledge down through stories, writing, teaching.
Precisely. It's an absolute game changer for our species development.
Okay, from the grand scale of evolution, let's bring it back down to individual human endeavors and the psychology of success.
Right, what makes people excel?
Our sources offer some fascinating insights into what drives athletes to greatness. Some, like an archer mentioned, attribute it to sheer dedication and sacrifice. Apparently sparked by a chance encounter that ignited an obsession.
While others, like a skier, find success driven by a pure love of the sport, just constantly pushing myself further and further.
And then you have the golfer who built this aura and just expected to win.
Believing the battle is won before the round has even begun? That's some serious confidence.
It is. What's fascinating here is just the sheer diversity of what motivates individuals to achieve at that level.
Different paths to the top.
You see that unique blend of strategy and self-belief in action with legendary figures like Sev Ballesteros.
Ah, Sev, a master strategist.
Totally. At the 1979 British Open, he famously planned a heavy slice off the tee, deliberately aimed it way off course.
Into a car park, wasn't it?
Yes, a temporary spectator car park. It sounds absolutely bizarre, but it was described as a stroke of tactical genius.
Why?
To get a better line, a better angle to the green for his next shot. He essentially tackled the entire course with this unorthodox route and achieved a devastating effect. Won the tournament.
Absolutely incredible. Thinking outside the box, literally off the fairway. And beyond that individual will, we also hear how, say, a ballerina found serious motivation through a relationship.
Okay.
while a Taekwondo practitioner's success is rooted in extreme pride and a strong association between my sport and my country.
National pride is a motivator.
Yeah. It really shows that the paths to excellence are as varied as the individuals themselves. There's no single formula.
Very true. Okay, from athletic strategy, let's shift gears slightly to the political arena. High-stakes strategy there, too.
Definitely.
Our sources highlight that the choice of a running mate, a vice president candidate, is consistently one of the most crucial decisions a candidate makes.
Huge decision. And you can see why in the examples. John F. Kennedy's decision to choose Lyndon Johnson
Yes.
was a purely strategic masterstroke, according to the source. A tactical one designed specifically to win key swing states of the South.
Even though they weren't close.
Apparently, there was zero trust and they had different mindsets politically, but tactically, it proved to be successful. It got them elected.
Wow. Politics makes strange bedfellows, as they say. But these gambles don't always pay off, do they?
No, absolutely not. John McCain's choice of Sarah Palin, for example, was described in our source material as a PR disaster.
A disaster?
Pretty much. One that more or less buried his campaign. The public was apparently less than impressed by Palin's political expertise and her infamous public speaking gaffes.
Right, I remember some of those.
And the effect was they turned on McCain because by association, he too appeared incompetent.
Ah, the association. It really makes you consider how much public perception shapes outcomes in politics, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Even when the initial strategy might have seemed sound on paper to the campaign.
Perception becomes reality very quickly in politics.
Indeed. Okay, finally, let's explore instances where everyday technology became an unexpected hero.
Unexpected saviors.
Our sources share some truly incredible stories of mobile phones literally saving lives.
Yeah, these were amazing. From a skier trapped between rocks on a cliff face, his phone literally holding me in place, wedged in a crack.
Wow, physically holding it.
Physically holding him, to someone being followed home from university feeling threatened,
Yeah.
who used a phone call to her friend, talking loudly to deter a creepy bloke. Just the act of being on the phone was enough.
Simple but effective. We also hear about an individual who was impaled on a 6-foot fence,
Ouch.
severely injured, but crucially, was able to reach his phone and call emergency services. Another story involves a kayakist far out at sea in trouble. His phone's GPS allowed the Coast Guard to pinpoint his exact position.
Life-saving technology right there.
Definitely. Saved him from the vast ocean.
And perhaps the most dramatic example? A bullet.
A bullet.
In a dangerous situation, a bullet was found embedded itself in the phone's battery.
Oh, way.
After first going through 6,000 euros rolled into a tight ball in the person's pocket.
So the money slowed it down and the phone stopped it.
Seems like it. The individual was fine, believing the phone and maybe the cash likely saved his life.
That's unbelievable.
It's absolutely astonishing how vital these everyday devices have become, isn't it? They've transformed from just communication tools into these unexpected, sometimes literal, lifelines.
What an incredible deep dive that was. From, the stark inequalities hidden within gleaming cities to the ingenious ways athletes achieve greatness.
Yeah.
The profound impact of language on our very evolution. And even the surprising, slightly scary contents of your own handbag.
It's a wild journey when you lay it all out. But you're right, it's all connected.
Yeah.
Indeed. And if we try to connect this to the bigger picture, what do all these diverse insights tell us?
Good question.
I think they highlight the immense value of critical thinking, questioning assumptions, looking beyond the surface, trying to consider multiple perspectives,
Right.
from acknowledging hidden injustices in places like Dubai to rethinking education for today's economy, to understanding the subtle forces like climate change or even bacteria. Knowledge truly is most valuable when it's understood and applied.
It's about not turning a blind eye, like we talked about earlier.
Right.
Whether that's to global issues or just the unexpected facts right in front of you, maybe even in your handbag.
Precisely. And this raises an important question for you, our listener, to maybe take away. How might actively seeking out the hidden truths in your own life or work, how might that lead to surprising insights or maybe even unexpected solutions?
Something to ponder until our next deep dive.